Hello and welcome to Able Diaries. We are live from the Society building. We are drenched again.
Yep.
Dear weather, enough now. It's been like 2 weeks. We did so much networking, so much walking around London yesterday. We got drenched like 5 times, I think. Yeah, it was soggy dogs. We're doing lots of networking this week. Where have we been networking?
We went to the London Development Network last night. We're meeting some engineers this evening. We're out on Monday night. It's good. I think it's keeping the January and February blues away. It's a good time to do it. And also it's the end of the financial year. I never thought I'd care about like the end of the financial year. But there are some things about, we've got loads of projects, but I want to book in all of the invoicing and the revenue. Yeah. And then it all gets booked in before the financial year. And from a personal perspective, you think, are we growing? What does the balance sheet look like? And it is a bit of a motivator in February to get lots of things over the line and booked in. So, yeah, I never thought I'd be that guy where at the end of March became a big
sexy,
deal.
cool stuff.
Well, I realised that's also like MIPIM is in March, and it's almost, it was the end of our year, and MIPIM feels like then the start of like next year's.
MIPIM's like the construction industry's like daisy drops, whatever those flowers are. There's the beginning of spring. Things are starting to change. We were speaking to lots of people who are just sort of noticing, oh, this time last year was dire, and this time this year,
good energy.
I'm getting positivity.
Good energy about. I mean, and when things are dire, people don't say they're dire. They say things are a bit flat, and it's only afterwards they go around saying, "God, last year was bad." But I sense it's speaking to people last night. Office seems to be going quite well. Resi's, I think, is having a bad time in some ways. Behind Resi's going well. Life science is going really well. Leisure, people are speculatively doing things. Defence, it's beginning to turn. There's a lot of money out there that people have to spend, and things have been non-viable for a few years. And I think people think, it'll be even more expensive next year. So let's just get on with it.
I think what we realised as well was we've been saying a lot over the last 2 or 3 years since Grenfell, since like the Building Safety Act's come in. Talking of sexy, cool stuff.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people just didn't know how complicated it was to deliver buildings to modern fire safety standards, and no one wanted to do it because they were like, surely it's not that expensive. Now everyone's gone, okay, this is a huge problem. It's not going away. Loads of these old buildings are so non-compliant that before it was like how efficient and environmentally sound is all your M&E equipment. Now it's like, I can't even let people in it. So now there's just a big uptick of people like us who have the specialisms to solve these complicated fire problems, and we're contractors for like,
good.
Come on.
Get the sell in there early. I appreciate that.
Quick random question I just thought I'd throw you on the spot. Thoughts on, I'm gonna hide the name. Thoughts on square business cards?
Bad.
Yeah. I got handed one yesterday by a lovely CGI artist who I will rename nameless.
I'm on the fence of this because it's like, I like novelty stuff. A YouTube show, doing things. I like novelty stuff. But there are some things, it's like wearing a tuxedo. That's like, people that mess around with a tuxedo.
Yeah.
The guy that comes in a white long tuxedo. You're like, no, this is one of those formats. And I think a business... I
knew you'd have a lot to say about this.
A business card is like, that's the format. It's like, it's a laser printed,
I know, I can tell, like, when you're in your company, you want to stand out, and one's like a ruler, and it's a weird length, or it's got curved edges, or it's slightly too thick, or it's made of plastic.
But we remember them, maybe and they don't fit in your pockets, so they're like, no, it's the thing again. But it's a big hard no for me.
Well, I thought you'd say that. Okay, good. So do you want to go first with the news? You can go first.
I've got, news. We're both going to start, I think, on the big redundancies. Full disclosure.
That's big as in BIG, the architecture.
Bjarke Ingels Group. Full confession, I think we're long-time fans of Bjarke, as everyone calls him, and his like popularizing architecture, making it accessible, being big and fun and Danish. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it is our cup of tea. And due to the Saudi slowdown, it looks like, specifically the Red Sea resort kind of going on hold, they are either going to close their London office or really get rid of everybody. And I'm very, very sorry for them, basically. And, there's a sort of rather gleeful architectural press coverage of it, I think, which is a bit unsavoury and certainly not our bag. And these are really great designers who are losing their jobs, and I hope will be absorbed into the wider industry again. But there've been protests outside the office, and I thought it brought an interesting thing. One, the Saudi slowdown. Two, calls to unionise the architectural profession. It's weird, professionals don't generally unionise and actually are we service providers, are we professionals? I think that's a really interesting debate. I noticed the unions were quick to kind of roll out the flags and support them and back them. Really, what can they do against that? So I think it's a sad day, and also, we were just thinking of all these people but we had a really great tour of Shepherd Robson also earlier this week, who are an amazing firm in a brilliant building in Camden, completely inspiring. A lovely chap called Nick Fawkes took us around. Shout out Nick, thanks very much. And they're going great guns. Nearly all their workers in the UK across loads of sectors. They're 300 plus, really well organised and well run firm. We both came away totally inspired by it, and I don't know if they're openly advertising that they're looking for people, but they're clearly, growing again. And so there's definitely space for some of these architects. I was going to say you should go down to Liverpool Street and Broadgate and pick off some of these great talents. So,
if you get a chance to go and Shepherd Robson, it's over in Camden, just near Regent's Park. But the nice thing is, the way it's set out, when we were at our previous practice, it was all on one big floor. All 150 people on one big floor was great. And then there was a bit for 18 months where we had to go to a temporary office, and we were split over 2 or 3 floors, and it completely killed it. The atmosphere and everything. And I thought the nice thing about Shepherd Robson's office was it's like a triangle, lots of little blocks of 40 staff basically. But you could always, it was sort of the benefits of open plan without the noise and the sort of, I don't want to go over there. And I just thought it was really good. If you get a chance to go around it, it's like, oh wow, this is what a super successful architecture practice looks like.
I thought he was interesting. I don't want to sort of betray Nick's confidence or what he said but it's a 6th or 7th generation business now, and which tiers of growth and management had been a success, which had been problematic. And I think that message about keeping your eye on the design quality, it's quite easy to get. You run an architecture business, it's drawn into revenue and profit and talent and all of those things, but actually you've got to just do really great high quality design. And if any of that slips, it doesn't matter. You can have the best HR system in the world or have diversified as much as possible, it kind of quickly comes tumbling down. But they are going great guns. The work looks great. I was totally blown away. So thanks, Nick. So big redundancies.
Well, on the big redundancies, do you never the reason it always, we pride ourselves on fun creative designs, and when you first start a business, you're like, well, the more successful I am as a designer, the more successful we'll be as a business. And then when you see a practice big laying off people, you're like, I'm actually being awesome at design isn't everything, because they're one of the best. And it's always oh God, what's happening? And what you think it is the Saudi slowdown?
I think it's the Saudi slowdown. I think it's a big challenge. What do you do when you get these big projects? Is it, and this is in no way a judgment of them, but is the responsible thing to do to hire 50 people, and then when it stops, you have to let 50 people go? It seems like the only, that's what they've done. But how can we come up with something which is less volatile for everybody? We have some staff seconded to a large architecture practice, and we're collaborating on a project. There are team in there, and it feels that there is something around sharing that resource and sharing talent, so that you have a busy time and people can help. You have a slower time, because there are people who are busy and there are people who are slowing down. And I think, maybe there's a more contemporary way of sharing people, and you can have these 6-month experience in a big firm from a smaller firm without feeling that your future is always at risk. And I'm genuinely really sorry for them. And if you're going to do these big projects, you need big teams. And I'm surprised that they are so dependent on. Well, the press is never right, but I'm so surprised they're dependent on 1 or 2 big projects. When you look at what they're doing in Bhutan and all the collaborations with Heatherwick and Foster's, and they're all over the world, I'm surprised that to have such a massive correction so quickly, but
Maybe they just don't have that much work within a 500-mile radius of the London office, and it's like, well, why not just like distribute them? But we were joking that there's like, is there an opportunity to create a sort of creative augmentation business? Where there's 20 of us, super creative, and you're like an army. You do tours. Oh, you've done tours at Zaha, tour at Foster's. People, you just augment them for 3 months while they do this mega competition. They come back, and it's like, I know that'd be impossible to do, but like there's
why not? I don't think it's impossible.
So I'm curious. So that's news number one. I would say like news number two. I'm just constantly like, basically I'm just the AI news thing now. But like they've just released this thing called Maltbot. I don't know if you've heard of it, but this isn't necessarily architecture related. But Maltbot is, if you use Reddit or any sort of social media platform, they've decided to just set up a thing called Maltbot, which is a Reddit, but there's 1 million AI chatbots on it, and they're all just communicating. They have their own little like Facebook world basically, and they're constantly chatting, making memes, and they've been
with each other.
With each other. So there's this thing called OpenClaw, and OpenClaw is the first AI system that can like actively do anything that you can do with a keyboard and mouse. So it can change files, it can email, it can set up WhatsApp messages, it can change your filing system, it can delete stuff, it can open programs, and they're just sort of playing with like, well, what happens? So if you're seeing all these people buy Mac Minis, they're buying these little computers, putting OpenClaw on it and giving it sort of like the freedom to go on this thing called Maltbot. I just thought I'd read it. It's like Maltbot, like OpenClaw isn't it likes human studies in different schools. Maltbots can be powered by different AI models. However, they can message, Telegram, and WhatsApp each other. They can communicate. They've also started their own religion. Forbes reported that AI agents have created their own religion. They have tenets. They have memories of what is sacred. They have their own like way of communicating with each other, and it's only been going for like 2 weeks, and it's already generating like hundreds of thousands of posts each day. And that's just like now. And I do think that we were chatting with some people from other practices about how they are incorporating AI into their servers. And what we're realizing is the bigger the practice, sort of the harder it is to truly bed AI into your like service systems at a very base level. But if you're relatively new like us, there is an opportunity to sort of take it from the ground up. But governance is the key problem. That's the problem. So I'm fascinated about how...
I don't understand. What's the point of getting two chatbots to talk to each other and create a religion?
So we were talking like, it's just a social experiment basically, or a digital experiment. But like we were saying,
how far would it go?
What happens if you leave them to it? But also it's like a bigger question, I think. If you're going to do a fee proposal, and let's say you create like an AI stack that you just click a button, you say the date, it downloads the fee proposal for you automatically, and then just generates a really, really good fee proposal, boom, done in like a day. That's awesome to you, super valuable. But then what's most likely happening is whoever's receiving 50 different bid proposals is just using AI and throwing them all in there and seeing if it meets all the criteria. Yeah. So it sort of devalues the whole process because I've
always suspected when I've sent out a fee proposal that everyone just flicks through to the back page, which is the cost. And
so if I'm giving you the perfect fee proposal and the AI is like, that's a great fee proposal, I'll give it 7 out of 10. Why? Oh, then the AI is like, well, to get 9 out of 10, you need to do this. And it just bounces back and forth. Everything's 10 out of 10, coming in at 10 out of 10. And I'm like, what's the point of that?
Where's the singularity?
It's like, well, okay, so the only option is to sort of do like come in and you're going to sit with us for a day, us as a team, and we're just going to bounce ideas. The client's going to be there, and we're just going to see how you would operate in a certain environment. Because, like, I have someone we know works in a very senior position in the civil service, and for example, she was saying that when you're interviewing people over Teams remotely during COVID, they were having like webcam AI that would make your eyes look at the camera, but they're just reading off to the side. And the only way that they could solve it remotely was you do this in front of the webcam camera, and the software's not fast enough to do it between your fingers. So that was the test. It was like, are you a robot? No, do that. I can see your eyes flicking. Okay, we're going to terminate the interview. So then now they only do it physically. So I'm sort of like, as exciting as AI is, it sort of also devalues something if you can do it incredibly quickly. And I'm just curious that, like, it's a little bit like fat loss jabs. You're like, everyone's using it, but no one wants you to know that they're using it. But it is actually speeding up all of those things. That's why I'm curious to see, well, what happens if you just give it to the nth degree? Like,
yeah,
let it do planning applications. Let it, like, what would a city look like if you just have at it? Like, what would people like? Just
I think maybe sandbox it.
but I'm not saying in real life, but like, if everyone's going to start using AI and it's just going to sort of bring everyone up to a certain level, what's beneficial and what's devaluing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does sort of. I think there's going to be a reality where smaller firms can have asymmetrical impact, because we already spoke about how the first bank we worked on had 18 people. The last skyscraper we worked on had 8 people. And actually, that's maybe slightly what's happening with big, is that 30-person practices can now deliver really big buildings, and you used to need to be 200 people.
These guys,
and actually, how much is that going to compress? You talk about the SAS. It's like, actually, you could build a really effective business that's a dozen of you doing big buildings. But
just on that, last night I was having a chat with a CGI artist, but what we found out from other architecture practices is the average age of the youngest employee is going up, because they don't need a part 1 to do a door schedule for a week, because that's now automated. They don't need someone to Photoshop 90 different elevations, because that's all automated. What they need is incredibly skilled Revit technicians who can just hit the ground running and go. But if, I was talking to a structural engineer yesterday whose daughter wants to be an architect. She's 15. And he was like, what do you think? And I'm like, I actually just have no idea what that what teaching architecture is going to look like in 5 years' time. I almost think it's going to go in the reverse, and you're not allowed to touch anything digital for 3 years. But then you're so undervalued because you can't do anything.
Well,
so
it's funny. My son is just about to start a new secondary school, and we had the open day and the talk with the head, and we're going off architecture here. But their whole shtick was about not quite anti-digital, but they don't get any devices for the first 3 years. All of their teaching is paper. The thinking doesn't need digital devices. And, they gave an example of a school leaver that's now founded an amazing AI company. And it's like, we're not holding them back. We're teaching them to think strategically. Yeah. But let's get back onto architecture.
Number
that's
2.
Only just allowed, Ben.
No, I think, that's my world. I'm going to be sitting, there's architecture
it's
in the
an
middle.
Architecture podcast, isn't it?
But people are interested in everything. Architecture is so glacially slow. What inspires people around architecture?
Yeah.
Because that's the interesting thing. You talk to someone, they just talk about details. It's boring. But if they're into films or whatever...
Mine are going to feel very architectural.
No, this is...
To yours.
Okay, I throw your architecture ones back.
That's
why you're here, Bill.
I'm going to go back to the ARB RIBA battle continues. Jack Pringle, chair of the RIBA, chucking his name in the hat. He's also given up his title of architecture. I think the battle is heating up a bit.
Jack Pringle as well.
And he's done a series of articles in Building. I know Jack, and I think he's a great guy. But he also he's got a really optimistic vision for what the future of the profession should be. I won't try and paraphrase. Well, I will paraphrase it a bit. But, big things about education. 7 years is crazy. How can we get it down to 4 and 5? And that will increase diversity and people from... hard to reach backgrounds, and it will make it a lot more accessible. So big changes in that. I think they might get rid of the part 1. So you do a part 1 in computer science or physics, and then you just come and do the part 2, which is a conversion to architecture. It makes so much sense. And then we always talk about diversity of thought and how everybody's on this sort of monorail. Well, imagine if you get history graduates and engineers converting and becoming architects. You're going to get a better profession. So I'm kind of excited about that. So watch this space. That was my second one.
So say that again. So the current RIBA president is?
Chris Williamson.
And Jack Pringle,
He's the chair. The RIBA is a very complicated...
Explain it to me like I'm an 8-year-old.
There are 2 halves. There's the full-time paid staff with a chief executive called Valerie, people that look after membership services, run the CPD programs, and provide the services. And they are, I don't know, there might be 40 people, not even, who are paid. And that's one half of it. Then you have the other half, which are volunteer positions, which are chairman, RIBA president, multiple, like an RIBA council that's made up from all over the the UK. I've still
No.
And then loads of volunteers like me that run kind of special interest group who are all architectural volunteers. So there's sort of two halves to it. But even I'm, but like can't really get my head always around at the structure of it. And there are new things popping up. And it is like all of these organizations, it's got like legacy bureaucratic systems that can feel not that effective. But it is a huge force for good, and it has loads of amazing resource. And the big story is going to be this House of Architecture project. So you talk about fire safety. When they did an audit of 66 Portland Place, which is an amazing building in Portland Place, they realised not only could they not use it, but they've had fire wardens walking around it because they, when they really realised how bad it was, they've had to. So they're going to have to do something, and they're spending, 60, 80 million quid creating the House of Architecture, which is a museum of architecture. And it's going to be amazing, if... Put money in the meter. They're going to... No, you just dance around. But if you want to be your friend who wanted to be an architect, his daughter's considering being an architect, this is going to be the place you come. If you're from Nottingham or Northamptonshire and you want to come, you want to understand architecture, or should you be, this is going to be a place where you can come. The models are on display. There's restaurants, there's cafes, it's a kind of like a clubhouse, but also best in class. And it's one hub. And I think it's going to be a brilliant idea. It inevitably is going to get a load of pushback. We're all going broke. Why are you spending 60 million, 80 million on this vanity project? We're going to have to deal with all that, but it is.
But the RIBA is a private entity. It's we pay for membership, and that's how it's funded.
Yes.
So the members who pay
and the services and the members pay, and membership is, membership is declining. There's no two ways about it. And one of the reasons I'm here beating the drum is to try and explain the value it provides to people, which is significant, I think. And I know it a lot. You've got big who are working all over the world who probably it's irrelevant to whether you're an RIBA member or not. You've got a one man or one woman band in Cornwall or something. Whereas actually that is quite a valuable brand. If you're going to go and choose them, they're RIBA chartered. That shows that they're championing excellence. And so where does that value sort of tail off for people? And one of the big challenges is that when, if you're a big practice, they used to have every architect was a member of the RIBA, 500 quid a year, no problem. As money has got a bit tighter, suddenly people say, look, we're 150 people, but I tell you what, why don't we just make the directors and the partners members and everyone else? And so that's been a big drop off. So what we really want are the big firms. I'm not going to, your HMMs and your Orms and your Field and Clegg Bradleys and your Stanton Williams, you really want them to dig deep and say, we're getting behind the profession. And I think if they start to turn a corner, it would really help. So shout out to all the big guns, get behind us.
So the major shots fired again are people not choosing to be a registered architect.
No, people not choosing to be a chartered practice. Registered architect is the ARB. Yeah. You have to do it. And
that's what Jack Pringle's just not done. Yeah, so Chris Williamson and Jack Pringle have chosen to not.
And if you're chairman of the RIBA, you can get away with it.
Yeah.
If we weren't registered architects, we wouldn't
struck off.
Well, we just wouldn't. One of our big contract clients wouldn't. They wouldn't. Oh, well, the main thing I think is, firstly, they wouldn't employ us, but we couldn't get insured.
Yeah.
That's I think. Imagine, and then you've got no professional indemnity insurance. Well, you can't work. So. I think it's good of them to do it, but it's not like a captain, my captain, we all stand on the desk and follow suit, or we'd all go bust. It's just good for you, go for it, and we'll all just sort of see how it goes.
Tone deaf designers get struck off. Architectural
exactly. Principled man goes bust, slightly.
But it isn't, because the point is that you shouldn't have to register for two things. And if you're, I do get it. If they ever looked,
you've been in CPD hell for a couple of days, so you're carrying a bit of legacy. I've got one more, because I know we don't want to keep it too long. I've got one more that's a bit architectural.
Okay, done.
The battle for Liverpool Street. I thought we could talk about this. There are two schemes. Liverpool Street, Central London Station, middle of the city, really, artery in, out of London. there was a scheme by Acme. It was originally done by Herx on Demura, which is these huge vaulted bricks and then a socking great skyscraper on top.
What was the second part? Like the brick's beautiful. You just tailed off in the second part. Skyscraper above
huge
it.
skyscraper above, basically. And then there's been a bit of pushback. Very expensive, quite a lot of demolition, very disruptive. And John McCaslin, and this is a good example of just being an entrepreneurial and creating your own brief. John McCaslin, brilliant firm. I've come up with their own idea, which is less demo, glue lamp or CLT arches, less demo, cheaper, less disruptive, alternative proposal, and it's a really ballsy play because you're saying like, you know, I like that. You always say, "Show me, don't tell me." If you're critical of the current scheme, come up with something better, which is exactly what they've done. And now it's sort of the court of public opinion. These two competing schemes are being thrown about, and you know, it'll be exciting to watch.
Well, it's a controversial area because we worked on 5 Broadgate, which is right next to that. I worked on it for like 5 years. And the whole, like Ken Livingstone introduced that whole like ultra densification. Like if you want to build a whopping tower, then you have to give an enormous amount of money back to some sort of public infrastructure. And why make everyone walk miles when you can come out? So the Shard was like the first real like, we'll let you get away with absolute murder, but you do have to invest billions into the transport infrastructure system. And I can see, and they did the same at Paddington, you know, the incredible project in Paddington. Okay, you're allowed to do that there. And then at Liverpool Street, they're like, great, can I do that here? And they're like, yeah, but this isn't a rough, bad area of London. This is like an amazing area of London. They're like, I know, but I still would like to build a skyscraper on top of a train station. I can see why they want to do it, but also it's not an area that's like desperate for another skyscraper. It's like, but like I can. So what I'm saying is, it's not as clear a slam dunk. It should have more skyscrapers. You should just densify London. I've got no issue with that. But I can see why there's building a skyscraper next to it, and then there's building it in the air on top of it. Like, and it's great. I think there's going to be an amazing scheme.
Who's going to win?
I'm going to guess the people that have gone in for planning for the last 5 years to try and get it through. If I having gone through the process, you're like, I appreciate that it's wonderful that you've done a cool design, but they'll have gone through hell and back doing like 50 million. What you see in the press, there's about 400 different designs.
And it's never like the truth. No shade on the press, but it's just like, it's often 3 years behind the reality, isn't it?
And my only last bit of news is that we're entering the anti-pavilion this year with HTS Structural Engineers. Had our first meeting yesterday. It's going to be very fun. I don't know if you don't know what that is. There's a wonderful canal down in Hoxton. Yeah. And it has these amazing sculptures on top. And every year they do like a design competition to put a sculpture that uses reusable materials, and you can use it however you want. So they've done some quite controversial ones. They've done some beautiful ones. They've done some big ones, and they stay up for like 6 months. And I'm excited about it. But I'm not allowed to say, you're not allowed to put your name on any of the submissions. So who knows? Anyway, well, is there anything else from you?
No, that's all for me.
So if you want to follow us, able_partners on Instagram.
Yeah.
Do we use X, Twitter?
No.
And then our website's ablepartners.co.uk. And if you do want to comment under YouTube, put I watched to the end, #, just let us know, bit of market data. All right, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.